Welcome, everybody, to a real treat today. We're doing an interview with Joe Trainor. Ta-da!
Ta-da!
If you are not associated with Joe Trainor, you've been living with your head in the sand somewhere because he is a part of everything, and that everything is art, and it's theater. It's music, it's performance, it is let's get it going, let's have a great time tonight. And he's been a part of that. Did you grow up in Delaware?
I did. I grew up in Woodcrest near Conrad School.
Okay.
Just outside Newport. And then as an adult, I moved into Wilmington. I live downtown in Wilmington now.
Okay. And so Conrad was your high school?
No, Conrad was my middle school.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, then I went on to Wilmington High from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Wilmington High. I always have to laugh. People who went to Wilmington High refer to it as Wilmington, and it could be really confusing.
Right.
You know,
and now it's Cab Calloway. Now it doesn't even exist anymore.
Right. But what school do you go to? Wilmington.
Yep.
Wilmington. What? Wilmington. Yeah. It's cute. Oh my goodness. So you're a Delaware guy, and boy, have you served us well already. You were at Candlelight for what, 10 years?
No, the Grand. I worked at the Grand. I didn't work at Candlelight.
Oh.
No.
Okay.
We did a show. We've done shows at Candlelight, but no, I worked at the Grand, and then I worked with City Theater Company for 20 years.
Yes, I'm familiar with your time at City Theater. And now you have a new job added to some of the things that are going on, which is production manager at the Queen.
Yes.
And you're still a booking agent for Gable.
Yeah, on the side. Just kind of, especially this right now, just trying to get through Ladybug and the rest of the season.
Yeah, it's so cool to be acquainted with Ladybug because it
No, absolutely. It's a fantastic concert event that happens every year. And for those who don't know, it's an all-female led concert that happens in downtown Wilmington. It's a free concert, happens every year in downtown Wilmington. And we host anywhere between 30 to 40 bands from all over the country, and basically a 4-hour block party, which this year is May 30th.
May 30th. Perfect. Now, is that Memorial Day weekend?
No, it's the weekend after.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Everybody will be ready to come out and enjoy. And absolutely. Now, you are famous for your piano playing. What else do you play?
Famous? Not really famous.
Oh, yes. Nobody else hammers it like you do.
Nobody abuses the piano like I do. But no, there are certainly some fantastic players in the area. I play a little guitar, a little bass, but really not. I don't think I've ever played either of them on stage. And I sing. Okay.
So. Yes, you sing. And who's singing, whether it's in the bathtub or on stage, we don't know because you can do anything.
Well,
I've never heard anyone, and I hear a lot of voices, who could do this. A lot of it is in conjunction with the rock orchestra. Mm-hmm. But before that, even Hedwig and the Angry Inch.
Well, that was one of the
tour?
That was one of the plays that we did for City Theater, and then it did get picked up for 2 tours in Kentucky. We went to Kentucky twice.
Yeah.
But that was just our local production that got picked up. And I put that on the lead at the time, David Colbert. He was the Hedwig in that production, and he was fantastic in it, so that garnered attention. And then we got to hit the road with it, which was fun.
That's so cool. That's a reward. You get to hit the road.
No, sure. It was nice, and it was just a short 1-week jaunt and back.
Okay.
So that was cool.
Okay, good experience, though.
No, it was great.
Absolutely good experience. Okay, so if they're listening, as I said, either do you singing in the bathtub or singing on stage, is it Pink Floyd? Is it Beatles? Is it Genesis? Peter Gabriel? Billy Joel? How many others?
Well, the Rock Orchestra, which formed in 2017, has done I think 16 or 17 different unique productions.
Wow.
So we've done Elton John, In Excess, Jethro Tull, 2 different Genesis shows, Peter Gabriel, Phil Collins, Chicago. We just finished, we did Fleetwood Mac.
It's fabulous.
And then we're gearing up for the Queen show
Yeah.
in the end of this month.
Oh, man. And I know a lot of folks will see this. It'll go in our website, but a lot of people will see this right now. Tickets are getting really slim. Get them, folks.
And if you see this after the Queen show, don't fret, because next season we're doing Paul Simon, Leonard Skinner, and Jimmy Buffett.
Nice. Kind of something for everybody, too.
Well,
I love your combination.
Our philosophy is, we're lovers of music of all styles. So, and even though we've been very much in the rock vein as opposed to R&B or country, we do like a little bit of everything. So singer-songwriters and progressive rock and hard rock. We haven't really gotten into metal. We love it, but like to perform it, we feel like it's not really kind of where we live. So we're not against it. But I don't think we're going to be, throwing out an Iron Maiden show anytime soon. But I wouldn't rule anything out. We can find somebody who can sing it, because that's not me.
I understand. That's a little different. Well, now, when I look at the beginnings, I know about the Gilpin Street Band.
Oh, yeah. That's way back.
Steve...
Long?
Yeah, Steve Long, I think, played with that. Who else were those originals?
Oh, geez. Don Hers, Jamie Poston, Eric Martin, Rob Stickley.
Okay.
I think that's everybody. Steve and Bink. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's in me.
Where did you guys perform? What year was that?
Oh, geez.
Ballpark.
1991, I think.
Okay.
So maybe we formed in the end of 90. Played our first gig in 90, like mid-91. So I wasn't 21 yet. And it was funny because we used to practice on Gilpin Avenue, but Gilpin Avenue Band didn't sound very good, so we called it the Gilpin Street Band. Mm-hmm. And we used to practice on Gilpin Avenue right behind Logan House.
Okay.
So one night we'd had enough material. We're like, well, let's have a party.
Yeah.
Set up in the backyard on Gilpin Avenue. We played. And the band that was supposed to play Logan House that night had canceled. So the booker heard us playing and came over. And the next weekend we played Logan House for the first time. Sweet. So we played, and then we played all the bars that were big in the early 90s, Pancho O'Hara's and was it Knuckleheads and Barn Door and all those places. So,
gotcha.
That was the beginning. And just doing covers. And then I left and joined an original band, my first original band. That didn't work out, but then I formed my first original band. And I was with the band March, which became Opus between like 93 and 99.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it was funny, quick story about that. Because I don't know, because not a lot of people know about that band, because we didn't really play a lot. We were a lot of rehearsing and studio stuff and not a lot of performing, because we were mainly a progressive rock band and bars didn't want us. If we weren't playing Allman Brothers and Grateful Dead, bars didn't care.
Covers.
So that band, I was trying really hard, and then it stopped in 99. But I kept I was still friends with the first guitar player, and the bass player is my brother. So during the pandemic, I'm like, we never gave these songs their due. Let's re-record them. Okay. So we totally re-recorded a 75-minute record, 16 songs remotely, because it was a pandemic.
Right.
So the guitar player, Doug Darrell.
Talk about determination.
Right? Doug, the guitar player, I haven't seen him in like 6 or 7 years. Okay. Even when the album came out, we didn't get together. Like we haven't played it. We just recorded it, mixed it, released it. When it's on Bandcamp, you can get it now. But it's great because to me that's a huge chunk of my musical, kind of my formative years writing, and to finally get a chance to breathe true life into those songs
Yeah.
30 years later was really nice.
Yeah, to do it with your current expertise.
Exactly.
Yeah, nice,
Yeah.
nice. That's cool.
And then I played with some other bands until I formed the Joe Trainor Trio in 2007.
Okay.
And then that was the next 10 years of my life.
Wow. And everything has built on everything else.
Well,
And
I think the thing that opened the doors for me, because all through the 90s, when I was with March and Opus, nobody cared. Nobody cared about anything we did.
okay.
Because we weren't doing things that people cared about, allegedly. And when we did have gigs, like people were like, okay, they're good, but we weren't playing stuff that they were into. So, and we got that. People want to dance when they go out. That's a lesson you learn later on. Like if you're not taking your thing on the road or taking it to an audience that's going to appreciate it, if you're just taking it to local bars, it's going to fall flat unless you're giving the audience what they want.
Exactly what they want.
So, and I was young and determined and stubborn, so I didn't listen to any of that. When I formed the trio, I wanted to do more accessible stuff. First of all, I'd done a lot of bands with guitar players, and I didn't want to have a guitar player in my band.
What year did the trio form?
2007.
Okay.
So it's just bass drums and the most aggressive piano I could play.
Right.
And we learned some covers, like Radiohead. For me, I wanted to do covers that weren't expected. We did Billy Joel and Elton John, but it was way later.
Yes.
Up front, we were doing things. We were doing guitar. We did
Crunch.
We did Green Day. We were doing things that you don't associate with a piano trio.
Yeah.
And then our own stuff. And then we released our first record in 2009 and our second record in 2012. And even then, but the thing that kind of blew it up for us was in 2008 we headlined the Arden Fair.
Yes.
And I said, let's do something different. So instead of going out there and doing an hour of JT3, we played all of Led Zeppelin 2 without a guitar player.
What?
Yes, it's on our Facebook page. And actually, I found the master tape, so I'm going to remix and remaster everything.
Nice.
So yeah, I had a piano. For if the guitars were clean, I played electric piano, and I had a distortion pedal for when it wasn't. And I played all the guitar parts on the piano. And there were 400 people there, and they remembered that we did that.
Yes.
And then in 2010, we did Abbey Road in the same way without a guitar player.
Yeah,
And those two shows were kind of like the definitive things that got us on people's radars.
Okay.
But then, you're riding that wave for so long. So like by 2015, 2016, we were having trouble getting people to come out to shows.
Sure.
But that's when I caught up with Matt Urban.
Yes.
And joined In the Light. We formed it was his idea to form In the Light. And In the Light was a tribute band. He wanted to do physical graffiti. So he put a band together to do physical graffiti by Led Zeppelin.
Okay.
And it was his company that shot the video for our Arden Zeppelin show. So we knew at the time I could sing Zeppelin.
Right.
So he's like, if you can do physical graffiti, we got to get Trainor to sing it, right? Then he put the rest of the band together. And we did it. We did it at Arden Guildhall. It was a lot of fun. And I was like, we should keep playing together.
Yes.
But I don't want to just keep doing Zeppelin. Let's do something different. So the next year we did Queen.
Right.
And then the next year we did The Who.
Yes.
And then the next year we did Pink Floyd.
And suddenly
then we
you
did
become
Eagles.
a whole culture.
Yes. And before that I had done the Pink Floyd The Wall tribute in the 2000s.
I remember that.
But even then, I was like, I want a band that doesn't do the same thing all the time. And even talked about doing a Queen show with that original Wall band. And that never came to fruition. So when the physical graffiti thing worked out, I was like, let's do Queen.
Yeah.
And, let's do The Who. Then after like 5 years, the band couldn't agree what to do next. We were having a harder time figuring out what to do. And we lost our bass player in a tragic accident. So Matt and I said, let's reboot this thing.
Yeah. And at that point, you and Matt are like brothers
of course.
already.
Right. Yes. So we were totally simpatico. And not only do we just get on, but our musical tastes are almost identical. Like it's rare that he's going to bring something up that I'm going to say no to. Like our fringes are
That's
minimal.
perfect.
So, and it was funny because I was the one who suggested we do an NXS show, and I thought he'd balk, and he was like, "I love NXS." I'm like, "Boom, let's do it." So that's kind of the thing. And like, so he wanted to do Talking Heads, and I wasn't really a Talking Heads fan, but I'm like, "All right, cool. I mean, I like them."
Yeah.
There's not many bands I hate.
Right.
There's a lot of bands that people like to say they hate, and I don't hate bands. There's a lot of bands I'm not into or I don't get, but I don't hate.
Right.
Anybody's out there making art, man, it's hard to hate them.
Yes.
You can hate on Taylor Swift or even Justin Bieber if you want, but they're out there doing it.
Yes.
You know, for whatever reason. There's no point in hating them.
Yes. I like your line. There are bands I don't get.
Well, sure. Yeah. I never got Frank Zappa. But
Neither did I.
But the guy's brilliant.
Absolutely.
I know he's a genius.
Absolutely.
I'm okay not hearing it.
Yeah.
I've never gravitated to like Steely Dan or some of these other bands, but it doesn't mean I don't like them.
Right.
So anyway, I digress. So we formed a trio. But backing up. So I'd gotten involved with City Theater Company.
Yes.
And working at the Grand, I was very familiar with the Delaware Symphony. And there's a model there. And the model is you have a season. That season runs from fall to spring.
Okay.
Right? And during that season, you have a number of shows that you choose to do.
Right.
Okay? So for City Theater, it was usually 3 theater shows. Wilmington Drama League, they do 5
Right.
in a season, right? And the Delaware Symphony tends to do 4. But what they do is all of those shows go on sale in August. Then you have all season to market your shows,
All right.
right? Whereas most bands are like, "Oh, I got a gig at Logan House next month. I hope everybody can make it out." But when's the one after that? So here since we're doing different shows, you can market all 3 of those shows.
Yes.
Right. So we do our shows at the Grand, and our tickets go on sale in August, and we sell 150 tickets right off the bat to all 3 shows.
Right.
Like we have a show that's 9 months later.
Yes.
That I don't even know who's playing that show yet. We've already sold almost 200 tickets for it.
And you don't know who's playing the show?
No.
Why are they have a package deal?
Yeah, we go to them and say, "These are the shows we're going to do," and they go, "Okay."
All right.
And then it's up to me to figure out who's actually playing in those shows, and sometimes I don't figure that out right away. That takes a little time. But I have time for this.
They support you.
For the May show. We don't start rehearsing until February, so I technically have until February to
make decisions.
But we have a great network. I never worry about not finding players for our stuff. So that's what we did. We started. We did our first season at the Queen, and then we moved our operations to the Grand Opera House, and now we're in our 8th season.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy. I said earlier something about a meteoric rise. And
it doesn't feel that way.
It doesn't feel well. That's because there's been a lot of blood, sweat, and tears.
Sure.
Put in. But oh my goodness, you were looking at 8 or 10 years there, where you suddenly went from neighborhood to visible.
Yeah.
And that's a challenge.
I think.
Well, now,
go ahead. You have other questions. I'm just running at the mouth.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, finish your
I was
thought.
going to say there's a question of success.
Yes.
What is success, right? And everybody gets to measure their own success.
Right.
And for some people, they live a life disappointed because they created a level of success for themselves they were never going to achieve. Not because they weren't able, but because they didn't have the tools to get them there, right? Which is why we say, like, there's 1 million guitar players and there's only so many that are rich and famous, right? We know that rich and famous is a really hard goal to achieve.
Yes.
Right? And it's not because... And everybody says that, like, "Oh, well, I know better guitar players than that guy. I know better singers or songwriters." But you don't. Those people didn't have the same opportunities or tools that person had.
Sure.
There's luck, and there's also knowledge, right? And when you don't have luck, it's meeting the right people with the knowledge to get you to those extra levels.
Yes.
And plus, it takes sacrifice, and certain sacrifices some people aren't willing to make.
Right.
They're not willing to leave a job. They're not willing to move out of their town, and anything that tends to hold us all back. And I'm one of those people. They're it's funny. I'm in a Billy Joel tribute band, and every time I get to, "Man, what are you doing here?" that line, I feel that line because people have asked me the same question.
Yes.
But I know the reason why I'm not famous. And I recognize that half of it is because I wasn't lucky enough to find the means. But I also didn't have quite the drive necessary to make sure that it happened. Okay.
Sure. As you were going down the list of things that people may not want to give up, I was adding to the end of the list sleep.
Well, true. Right. And friends and love and children and family and all these things that tie people to a place.
Yes.
Yeah. And the people who make it have almost always had to sacrifice some of those things to make it happen. But what happens is people get bitter and they get upset about not achieving those goals. What I did was I rewrote my goals. And I realized that I didn't need to be famous. I didn't need to be successful. What I wanted more than anything was respect. I wanted the people that I looked up to in this area to have the same respect for me that I had for them by default. Because I immediately looked up to these bands that were out there doing it ahead of me, and I was like, I want that. And these people were known.
Yes.
You know, whether it was Montana Wild Axe or Rocket 88 or the Bullets, right? These bands were doing it, and they were respected by at least by me, if not others coming up, right?
By their audience.
And all I wanted was to get to a point where, I knew these people.
Yes.
And was seen as a peer.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I just fought really hard to put myself in a position to be seen.
Yes. Yes.
And that's all. But then you got to deliver when you're there. So like my whole purpose now is not just about, while it is fulfilling my own internal desire to make music at a level that I want to make, but it's also giving other people that opportunity. I'm very honored that I get to play the main stage at the Grand Opera House 3 times a year. That is not lost on me.
With the rock orchestra, which usually is what, 200 people?
You mean in the audience or on stage?
On stage.
Well, for the Beatles show, we do have 30 people, yeah. But usually, like Fleetwood Mac was like 10 people. It depends on the show.
Okay.
Phil Collins, I think, was like 8 or 9.
Oh, all right.
So
that's just my impression.
Yeah, it depends. Yeah, we don't bring out the full orchestra for every show. It's usually just what's necessary.
You draw from it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I want to do a Zeppelin show so we can just do it with 4 people.
Okay.
I just because I
Makes
like
rehearsal a lot.
I just like the scaling down as much as I like the bloat. You know what I mean? Like when we do Beatles and we've got 30 people up there, I love it. But I also like just getting in a room with 4 of the guys
intimate.
and just
and really making things gel. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Who were your first inspirations? Who were the bands or the performers or the actors that you loved when you were young?
I got really drawn to the piano very early. When I was 8, I used to go, like when I was in my, 6, 7, 8, 9, I used to go spend the occasional weekend with my Aunt Eileen, which is my dad's sister. Okay. She had a piano.
Yes.
So she would play, and I'd bang on it, and she'd play. And she was the first one who sat me down and talked to me about how the piano works.
Right.
And how music works.
Yes.
So I think by the time I was like 10, she was like, this is how sheet music works. And I was like, oh, okay. She showed me where middle C is and how the lines work. Right. I was like, okay. And then I realized, it's a code. I can crack this code. And I didn't continue piano lessons with her. I maybe took a couple lessons with somebody else after that, but I barely remember. Because by the time, I was thinking, I could do lessons. I just wanted to play like Journey and Phil Collins. Right. I just wanted to play what was popular. I didn't want to play Mary Had a Little Lamb.
Yes.
So I set about trying to crack the code for myself and understand how to read music and then understand music theory.
Yes.
That was kind of my goal. And then I know I probably learned it a lot slower than I would have had somebody teaching me. But I knew how I wanted to learn the things I wanted to learn. So I just set out to do it.
Sometimes the process of researching something puts you on a different standard.
And it would have been a hell of a lot easier if I had the internet in the early 80s, but we didn't. Because today, anybody who was thinking along my lines could have just gone out and looked this stuff up and had it explained to them. By 20 people in YouTube videos or countless websites. Oh, yeah. So I just learned to read on my own, and I bought... So the first collections I bought were Billy Joel, And my older brother had like some Phil Collins books and Journey books. So between those were kind of, so like Jonathan came from Journey and Tony Banks and Phil Collins, those things with Genesis and Phil Collins. But then I latched on to Billy Joel, and that was because Billy Joel was very piano driven.
Yes.
As opposed to other bands that had keyboards in it.
Yes.
So I was like, oh, and the sheet music was pretty good, had some of the hard parts, so you could challenge yourself. So that's kind of where I dove in. Okay. And then kind of moved on and explored like others like Elton John, Jackson Browne, some others, and always kind of came back to Billy. Oh. And Billy's not my favorite artist, but like in that formative time, like that was kind of where I went. Yes. It kind of fed my fuel until I found progressive rock. Then I found Yes and Genesis and Rush and Jethro Tull and Pink Floyd and Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and man, it just blew up. And I was like, I want to do that, and I never figured it out. I'm not that good. Like there's some of that stuff I can play, but like Emerson, Lake and Palmer and Yes, I could probably, if I really sat down, I could probably play Yes. But who's got that kind of time? I don't have that kind of time. So I actually hire when we do shows that require really killer keyboard parts, like when we did the Lamb Sound on Broadway. I hired Brian O'Sullivan, who lives down in Bear, and he's the best keyboard. Him and Dan Long, two best keyboard players I've ever worked with. And Brian O'Sullivan learned all of that old classic Genesis stuff. It's really hard. Like it's funny because I think people see me as a keyboard player, see me as a piano player, and there are guys in this town that smoke me. Okay. Absolutely smoke me. So like I love playing, and I'm really good at some things. But man, when I need really, really good, I call somebody else.
So you go out and fill the need. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. So your siblings are still playing?
My brother Alan, my older brother, he plays bass primarily and acoustic guitar in various projects, but mainly bass. Okay. He's done a few of our shows for TRO. He was bass player for our Springsteen shows and for something else. I'm blanking on it right now. Okay. But yeah, Tom Petty. He played Tom Petty too. And he's going to play our Buffett show coming up next season. So so I get to play with him still. And he was a bass player in March and Opus in the 90s. Okay. So like I've been playing music with him forever. My younger brother Sean, he's a singer-songwriter. Doesn't do it as much as he used to, but like he produced our record. Like the last record I did, he produced it. He's a good recording guy. On top of being a really good player and singer. But he's just got a knack for recording as well. So, yeah. So they're musical. That's amazing. Yeah, my mom sings, my dad plays banjo. Talk about your parents. Bluegrass. Yeah, my dad played banjo. Still has his banjos. Do you remember where they played? And no, because he didn't play out, but mainly in our living room growing up. Like he would have guys over and they'd jam, do bluegrass things in the living room. Love it. And it was just beers and cigarette smoke and bluegrass. It was wonderful. And my mom never sang professionally. I mean, she could hold a tune and she sang, around the house, but she never really pursued it. Can we still hear them, or their tapes anywhere? Well, see, my dad never played out. He played out once. My dad played out once and he hated it, and my brother recorded it, so I do have a recording of that. Okay, good. But nothing really of my mom singing or anything. Yeah, but no, at least you had that. At least. Well, I also have her blown on my phone on the way here too. So. Oh, cool. Yeah, she called me on my way down here. Let's hear it. No. I'm just saying. Okay. I'm saying they're both still with us. All right. So I still call them. Yeah. That's cool. That's cool. Yeah. What to date is your favorite personal performance that you have done? Independent. Oh, I can't. It's impossible. The first Queen show was amazing. I mean, we sold out the Queen. There's nothing like playing to a sold out house. The first Shine a Light concert that I did was memorable. Okay.
What did you play at the first Shine a Light?
Well, the first three Shine Lights were tributes to the Rolling Stones.
Okay.
So the first one was all Rolling Stones. The big one was duet. Do you know Nancy Curry? Nancy Curry is a singer-songwriter. She lives down the beach.
Okay.
She was also one of the vocalists in our Fleetwood Mac show.
Okay.
So there was Chris Duncan and there was Nancy Curry.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay. So Nancy and I sang "Gimme Shelter" at that first one, and it was killer. It was
Neat.
one of the coolest moments I've ever had on stage. And Nancy's in our Queen show, so I still work with Nancy.
Amazing.
But yeah, the first time we did the Pink Floyd's "The Wall" back in 2003, that Zeppelin show at Arden was memorable. The first time I played on the main stage at the Grand Opera House with my own band when TRO did The Who back in November of 18 was surreal because I worked at the Grand from 2000 to 2008.
Right.
So to be able to come back a decade later as an artist and play that stage.
How sweet.
Yeah, it was crazy.
How sweet.
But it was amazing. And my life is full of those great moments that I'm super honored to have.
Yeah, that talk to your heart.
Yeah.
That really moved you. Last December, Spring Awakening was covered in the Broadway World Review by Greer Firestone
Yes.
as stunning, joyous, and provocative. Wow.
So Spring Awakening is probably like the 17th show that I've done for City Theater. So I've done Little Shop of Horrors, Rocky Horror, Bat Boy the Musical, Hedwig and the Angry Inch, Assassins, which is Stephen Sondheim.
Okay.
Did I say Bat Boy? Bat Boy twice,
You did.
actually. As Thousands Cheer, which was Irving Berlin stuff, and then Spring Awakening. And then I co-wrote a play that we did back in 2012.
Neat. What was the name?
That was called On the Air.
Okay.
And it's funny, it took place in a radio show in the 40s. So
Very cool.
right before, and that the station was going to shut them down because they were moving that soap opera to California to do for television in the late 40s or in the mid 40s.
Okay.
But it was all coinciding with the war. Too.
Oh, in the air.
Yeah,
That's
so you
cool.
had this kind of dual thing going on. The change in the atmosphere of the studio and then the change in the country
Yes.
at the time. So anyway, so that was fun. So yeah, the Spring Awakening was just one of many shows that I've got to do with City Theater that were a lot of fun.
Neat.
Yeah.
Neat. So it's not just music, it's theater. It's the whole package. Are you ready to publish any of your music?
What do you mean publish?
Record and present?
But I mean, it's all out there.
Okay.
A lot of it's out there.
Okay.
I mean, the trio has 2 records. March has 1 record.
All right.
And then I have 1 solo record that are all available online.
Okay.
And then I'm actually going to be putting together a project because there's a lot of demos that never saw the light of day. And part of me just wants them up
Yeah.
so that they're there in the
They're
world.
findable.
Yeah. So I'm probably going to,
Yeah, YouTube has a lot.
probably within the next year or so, I'm going to start rolling them out 1 a week. And just
Oh,
put
cool.
them up. Just put them up. Start at the beginning
That
with
is.
the crappy demos right up to whatever
Oh
I'm
no,
working on now.
that's a neat idea.
But I haven't written anything in like 5 years. Yeah. Maybe longer.
What do you think about that?
I'm on the fence about it, actually.
Okay.
Like, part of me feels like, first of all, that's a whole other conversation. That's another start to tape conversation.
Okay.
But the Reader's Digest version is, I wrote material between 1992 and 2017.
Okay.
Pretty prolifically.
Okay.
Like 150 songs in that time.
Mm-hmm.
Some are with March and Opus, some are with the trio, some are solo.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of, and I wouldn't say a lot, but a good number of them haven't been officially released, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why would I keep writing songs when I feel like I've written all this great stuff that nobody's
And
heard.
it hasn't been packaged yet.
So it's like I could sit tomorrow and write a song,
Right.
but also, is it going to be as good or is it going to be better than this?
I love the idea that you could knock them out 1 week. You'd get an audience in a different
Well,
way.
I would think it's going to be an interesting thing to kind of look at. I'm going to create lyric videos for them and just kind of put them up. I don't want to just slap them up.
Gotcha.
And I'm going to do posts about
Good,
them
I'm
and talk
glad.
about the songs because for me it's about posterity. I want
Yeah.
my daughter or anybody to be, I mean, anybody who cares
Be able to follow
to
you.
be able to look at it and understand what it's about. Maybe that's pretentious,
No.
but also I feel like it's just preserving my history a little bit in a way that we get to do in 2025 that you couldn't do in 1975.
Exactly. History is the key word there.
Yeah.
It really is history. And it's history that is available to people who have an emotional connection to you as well in the future.
Right.
You know, that's sweet. One of my favorite quotes that you have said is, "My wife is a monster."
She is.
I'm so impressed with her. She's such a presence.
She's a beast.
She's such a maybe it was beast. Anyway,
She's both.
She is such a presence. I mean, the stage can be busy with a whole lot of other people, and she is the presence. So pretty cool.
She keeps me grounded, that's for sure. And it's funny because my mom used to say, you know, I like many people, like many young people, I went through relationship after relationship trying to keep things steady and for all the various reasons that we find ourselves attracted to somebody, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then 6 months in, you're like, maybe this wasn't a good idea.
Right.
And not because of any fault of theirs, just because people don't always mesh, right? And lifestyles are
learn and
really
change.
important. Especially for musicians, lifestyles can be.
Yes.
I was never going to be an 8 to 5 guy and come home and cook dinner and whatever every night, you know?
Right.
And my mom said, you're not going to be happy until you find someone who understands you.
Yes.
And in Carrie, I found that because she is also an artist.
That's what I said to Rick was,
Yeah.
finally, you have a partner who is a performer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So once you have somebody who understands the drive and the ambition and the necessity, but once they get it, then you get to go do it.
You are lucky. She's obviously a really dynamic person. I have a question. She's all right. Go to your room.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Is the trio still performing?
The trio's not performing.
Okay.
The trio, first of all, I hate bands that break up.
Okay.
I don't think any band should ever break up.
They should come back again and...
No, I don't even think that they have to come back. Just don't tell me you're breaking up. I'm looking at you, the Eagles.
Okay.
Okay, the Eagles said, we're never coming. When Hell Freezes Over. And then they had to come back and be like, oh, we're releasing an album called Hell Freezes Over because we're getting back together. And then they stayed together for another 30 years.
How about that? Yes, they did.
Great. Well, don't toy with me. Don't tell me you're breaking up. Tell me you need a break. Because here's what happens. REM broke up. Mm-hmm. They put out a press release. We're done. Mm-hmm. We're never performing again as REM.
Okay.
And every time any of them do an interview, they get asked the question, will you ever get back together? Well, how much money would it take? What would it take to get REM back together?
Right.
We miss REM. Maybe you guys could get back together. Since then, they have played 2 instances. They got into the Georgia State Songwriter Hall of Fame, and they played "Losing My Religion" acoustically, and that was last year. It's the first time they played together in like a decade. So anyway, Fish took an indefinite hiatus, got back together, then broke up, and then got back together again 6 years later, and have stayed together. Don't tell me you're breaking up.
Right.
I've never broken up the trio.
Take a break. Okay.
But it may never play again.
Understood. I knew that's where you were going. Okay.
Because I just don't like closing doors. And I don't think bands should close doors.
Well, they're bound to develop. And I get your point. I think that's a much better approach.
But I hopefully will be doing some stuff with a band of some kind, be it a trio or a full band or something, playing my material at some point in the future.
Yeah, please do. What's your music bucket list?
I've done it. I've literally done almost everything on my bucket list.
Is there any incredible performer that you want to play with?
that I play with.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, but most of my idols are
Obscure.
done.
Okay.
They're done or gone.
George is laughing.
They are. I mean, most of my idols are in their 70s, so they're either retired or passed on. And
Heading out the door.
just. I mean, would I have loved 20 years ago to share the stage with Springsteen? Of course.
Right.
But like, also, I wouldn't. Why? What am I contributing to that? You know. You know, and that's the thing. I mean,
Yes.
I feel like when I was growing up, it'd be like, oh, here's a funny thing. Here's a funny story. When I was 10 years old, I would sit in my room and air guitar to Kiss's Dynasty album, which came out in 1979.
Okay.
That's the album that's got I Was Made for Loving You.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I imagined myself being a member of Kiss.
Okay.
But also aware enough to realize that would never happen because then it wouldn't be Kiss if I was in it. That Kiss was only them.
Okay. Yes.
But think of how many bands have new members that are really comprised of people who grew up listening to them.
No kidding.
There are people who play in the Eagles who were not in the Eagles in the 70s.
Right.
Hell, Yes doesn't have any original members.
Right.
Neither does Foreigner.
Right.
And they're all young guns. There's a dude playing keyboards for Kansas who's half as old as their drummer. He's great. Tom Brislin's an amazing keyboard player. And Phil Earhart, the drummer for Kansas, he's in his 70s. So little did I know that there was a possibility that if I had learned the right instrument, I could have played for Kiss. It's not out of the question.
There you go.
But what am I contributing to that? Like, I would rather than play with these guys, I would love to sit down and have a conversation with Bruce or Peter Gabriel or Billy Joel or any number of people. There's so many great, and not just those guys, but like Roy Bittan, the piano player for Springsteen. Like, I'd love to sit and talk to him for an hour. Tony Levin, who I've met. I don't even know Tony Levin's a bass player for King Crimson and Peter Gabriel, and I'd love to talk with him because I bet he's got great stories. Him and his brother came up playing for Paul Simon.
Wow.
Like live, and then moved on, and he connected with Peter Gabriel and other players, and then Robert Fripp. And so like the stories these people can tell.
Yes.
And that is one nice thing about the internet right now is there are people out there that are kind of connecting with these musicians and getting their stories.
And there's a wisdom that comes across offhanded. You know, if you're sitting down and you're talking to someone who is technically experienced, okay, and I don't just mean metal things.
Sure.
You'll ask a question and they'll dispense with your question by putting it in a category that you hadn't ever thought about. So, you know, the wisdom you could get.
And in all those instances, it's about asking the right question in the right way.
Sure.
Right. So like it depends on what information you're trying to glean. Like for instance, I recently watched an interview with Phil Collins, like a recent interview. And he hasn't been in great health. He's very frail these days.
No, he's looking really aged.
But they were talking about, you know, but he created some really iconic moments, especially on the drum kit. And they were asking him, what were you thinking when you came up with dun 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 dun? And his answer was, I don't know.
Right.
That the tape was rolling and that's what I did in the moment.
That's right.
And he asked him like 5 times and that was his answer all 5 times. So it's different. And I guess it's different when you're like, hey, drummer, what were you thinking when you were playing this beat? Versus Billy Joel, what were you thinking when you wrote And So It Goes or whatever, a song, whatever. Because then there's usually a story behind it lyrically.
Yes.
Or a story behind it musically. Like when Billy wrote This Night, he was kind of taken from Beethoven. But like drummers, and I'm not trying to minimize drummers, I'm sure drummers get influenced by things they hear before. It's like he even said, like when he did Squonk on Genesis's Trick of the Tail album, he's like, I was totally channeling John Bonham's Kashmir in it. So there were moments where he's like, no, I was thinking about something, but it's how do you answer the question to get the answer you're hoping for?
Right.
So.
Well, I have a story to tell about you.
Oh, no.
One of my...
You have no time for a story about Joe?
You've impressed me, you know, in your performances across the board.
Okay.
But we went, not this year, but last year, we went to, I think we went to 2 nights of the Beatles. And we were there when there's this, beautiful theater and packed to the gills with excited people. People are ready to sing along and be impressed by the performances. Just really, a happy, happy crowd. And I took you aside for a quick minute and said, hey, you're about to be inducted into the Delaware Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Would you like me to come on stage and, let everybody know that that's happening so they can go, yay, yay, we love him, we love him. And you said to me, I kind of feel like, it might be, shortcutting in some way all these other people who are on stage who've rehearsed and who have worked so hard. And I said to myself, that's an impressive man. That was really, that was generous.
Don't get me wrong. I'm honored to be in that, and I accept that and super happy that it happened.
Yes.
But you're right. In that moment, I didn't want to take anything away from anybody else.
Take anything away from anybody else, and that was not only was that good leadership, but it was just magnanimous. You were thinking about them, not yourself. I was really impressed.
Thank you.
You are welcome. Well, I want to say thank you for a fabulous, fabulous interview.
Thanks for having me.
This was, absolutely. And I could sit by the fireside at your feet and listen to you talk and talk and talk and talk. Great stories.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Great stories. Thank you.
Thank you.